Hello gamers, I'm NKZL and in this video I'll be talking about MMORPGs that will release in 2023. The MMORPG genre has been stale for years, seeing very few new releases. But it seems to be turning around and we have seen few quality MMORPGs released in the past few years. The first names that come to mind would be New World and Lost Ark. There have been others like Tower of Fantasy and Embers Adrift, and even ones that ended up dying for various reasons like Sword of Legends Online and Bless Unleashed. But all these titles pale in comparison to the amount of new releases that we will be spoiled with in the future. That being said, in this video we will be only focusing on what 2023 will bring. I would like to mention that I will not be going into too much detail about each game, as almost all of these games will provide the standard MMORPG experience with quests, dungeons and so on. So in this video I will try to focus on the things that these MMORPGs do differently or take to the next level. If you want to know more about a particular title, you can let me know in the comment section below and I will compile all the information available and make a video for at least the titles that I'm most interested in. Another thing that you can let me know in the comments is if I missed any titles and if there are enough that I missed or more MMORPGs get announced in the near future, I can make a part 2 of this video. This intro is getting pretty long, so the last thing that I want to mention is that if you find this video interesting, please consider helping the channel out by leaving a like and subscribing. It would be great if at least some of you decided to support me in this hobby of mine. So make yourself comfortable and let's get into it. The first MMORPG I would like to talk about is Throne and Liberty, and this is the MMO that I'm most excited about. It has a very strong focus on the massive aspect of MMORPGs, which is something that we see less and less nowadays. It will have massive boss battles and massive PvP battles centered around sieges. The visuals look absolutely stunning. Both characters and the world look exceptionally beautiful. The only MMORPG that I can compare this with is Black Desert, and honestly, if they manage to pull it off, we might end up having a contender for the best looking MMORPG title. Throne and Liberty is developed and published by NCSoft, and this is both a good thing and potentially a bad one. Let me explain what I mean by that. They have extensive experience in the MMO genre, having been involved with a lot of MMORPGs. Some of their titles include the Lineage series, Aeon, Blade and Soul, and they are the publisher of the Guild Wars series. All this experience means that they know what they are doing, so hopefully this will result in them delivering a quality product. My main concern with this title will be the pay to win. While I personally don't mind pay to win, I can only accept it if it acts as an option and not a wall that seeks to force people into making purchases. The second MMORPG I would like to talk about is Blue Protocol. It stands out by coming up with a lot of interesting and unique classes. The developers bring their own twist to combat, and this is one of the elements they have been most focused on improving in the past year. We will have to wait until release and see how players will feel about it, but it does look very promising. The graphics are anime-like, and if you played something like Genshin Impact or Tower of Fantasy before, this will feel pretty similar. Being an anime game, there will also be quite a bit of focus on the social aspect as well. Another thing that is worth mentioning is the fact it's made by Bandai Namco, and with such a name backing it, a high level of quality will be expected. The third MMORPG I want to talk about is Odin Valhalla Rising. This is one of the very few decent MMORPGs that is cross-platform, being able to play it both from your phone and from your PC. While there is always reason for concern when it comes to cross-platform titles, it's been proven in the past by both Genshin Impact and Tower of Fantasy that this model can work. The world of Odin Valhalla Rising is set in the Norse mythology universe, and if you enjoy the Norse mythology, you will be spoiled by all the references in the game. It's quite a good looking game, while not being quite as good looking as something like BDO. It's still better looking than most other MMOs, and it's very impressive because it's a cross-platform game. It's already been released in the East and it had massive success there. However, we have seen in the past that games that do extremely well in the East might not do so well here. With that in mind, the developer has set out to change a few things before its global release. For example, they decided to remove autoplay, which is a feature that most Western gamers are known to dislike. My main concern with this game is the gender lock. Personally, I'm not a fan, and so far they have released 5 classes in the game, and 4 of them are female. We will have to see if this changes by the time it releases globally. The fourth MMORPG I would like to talk about is Ares: Rise of the Guardians. It's a sci-fi MMORPG, and we don't have that many of them that look this good. It looks gorgeous from all the trailers that we've seen so far, and the combat looks pretty fun. Each class will have 2 different weapons, and each will have their unique gameplay. Another important aspect is that there is no gender lock in this game. It's worth mentioning that it is rumored to be cross-platform. Personally, it also gives me some kind of Warframe vibes, but that might be because of the hoverboard and the flying around, as well as the general world aesthetics that we can see in one of the trailers. Not much else is known about it, and we will have to wait to see what content there will be available and if this content will satisfy. The fifth MMORPG on this list is StarKeepers. This title does quite a few things differently than most other MMOs, and I personally really look forward to see how this will turn out. The first bit would be the gameplay. You will embody different ancient warriors. The warrior you choose to play will determine your playstyle, but this can be further customized by the items you choose. This MMORPG has quite a bit of focus on PvP. With that in mind, you can build your own town and set your own rules, even share mounts with other people from your clan. Of course, this means that you can also siege another clan's town or be sieged yourself. One truly unique aspect in this title is the way questing works. Apparently, the questing will be divided into seasons, and each season people can have different experiences, and some people can end up with unique endings to the questlines. They also mentioned that group decisions will affect how the questing unfolds. From what we've seen so far of the game, the graphics seem to be stylized similar to something like Crowfall. The sixth MMORPG on this list is Palia. This is another MMORPG that tries to do things differently, and compared to most MMORPGs, it tries to take things into a completely different direction. They are trying to create a mostly social game focused on crafting and player housing, but also creating a world that feels alive, like NPCs will have their own lives regardless of player interaction. There's quite a bit they are trying to achieve with this game, but the best comparison I could give would be Animal Crossing in a third-person, open-world MMORPG format. The graphics take a stylized approach in this title as well. The seventh MMORPG on this list is BitCraft, yet another MMORPG that tries to build on the social elements of the MMO genre. It's quite similar to Palia, but while Palia focuses on the personal experience of the player, BitCraft will be focusing on the community aspect. You will be able to build and upgrade a town, and this will require social strategies. It also explores quite a few elements of the survival genre. The player being thrown into a massive sandbox world, and they need to find a way to survive. All this in a world without PvP, at least as far as we have been made aware of. There will also be quite an emphasis on exploration and interacting with the world. It has stylized graphics, and this will be a top-down view game. The 8th MMORPG on this list is WayFinder. This MMO is published by Digital Extremes, the developers behind Warframe. And honestly, it has a lot of things that will be similar to Warframe, but in a stylized world. It will be a hub-based MMORPG. You will choose a hero, gear, weapons, which you will use to explore, complete quests and fight bosses in different environments together with your friends. Considering it's published by Digital Extremes, I will assume it will have a similar monetization to Warframe, and it's safe to assume that almost everything will be obtainable in-game. while also having a cash shop for those that wish to speed things up. Personally, this is another MMORPG that I'm quite excited about, because Warframe provided me with countless hours of fun and it had by far the best story that I have seen in an online game. So I have quite high expectations from WayFinder. The 9th MMORPG on this list is Chrono Odyssey. Not much is known about this project, but it's been announced that it will be released in 2022 and then it was delayed to 2023. The announcements for it call it a space-time epic fantasy MMORPG. They also state that there will be an epic story and, surprisingly enough, 18 total classes, which sounds very ambitious. It's been mentioned that they aim for this title to be available on PC, consoles and mobiles, but we will have to wait and see what they deliver. From the very limited footage available, we can see it's some sort of third-person, Dark Souls or Monster Hunter-like game, and in one of the trailers we can see a character riding into what seems to be the open world. So I think it's worth keeping an eye out for when they release more information and see if this is something worth playing. The 10th MMORPG on this list is CorePunk. This is an open-world top-down MMORPG. It's heavily inspired by top-down MOBAs, having similar combat and movement mechanics, and making creative use of Fog of War to create a more immersive atmosphere. There is a heavy focus on exploration and PvP. Combine this with the use of Fog of War, it aims to create a thrilling experience. We will have to wait and see if they manage to pull it off, but so far it looks pretty promising. The 11th MMORPG on this list is Pantheon: Rise of the Fallen. This title is for old-school MMO enthusiasts. It aims to provide an old-school MMO experience in a new third-person environment. It's worth mentioning that it's heavily inspired by the D&D world. Personally, the way I see it, if you enjoy games like RuneScape, this aims to be something like that, but in a more realistic and up-to-date environment. It's worth mentioning that this is a Kickstarter project, and while the beta is said to be released in 2023, it might see delays until the developers are happy with the state of the project. We're getting close to the end of the video, and I have a couple more games that I believe deserve a place on this list, but before that I have to explain something. These next games can be considered survival games. But for a few years now, survival games have been blurring the lines between them and MMORPGs, basically being able to tick most of the boxes when it comes to meeting the criteria to be called MMORPGs. Because of this, often enough, a good amount of gamers that enjoy MMORPGs will end up enjoying some of these survival games. So with that in mind, the 12th MMORPG on this list is The Day Before. The Day Before is an open-world sandbox MMO set in a world overrun with zombies. You are meant to explore and scavenge, looking for resources to help various colonies of survivors. From what we know so far, the world is supposed to be massive, featuring both wilderness and urban landscapes. This game got a lot of people excited, being one of the most wishlisted games on Steam, and it did that almost entirely by showcasing the impressive visuals of the game. We will be able to play it soon enough and decide if it's worth it. The 13th MMORPG on this list is Ark 2. Most gamers have heard of Ark Survival Evolved, as it is the dinosaur game, where you get to tame, raise, ride and fight with dinosaurs. There is a lot to the world of Ark, but in my opinion it was missing a few basic elements for it to be considered an MMORPG. Ark 2 will be the second game in the series, and it is said to have a lot more MMORPG elements than Ark had, including NPC heroes and settlements and a way better delivered story. I had a lot of fun playing Ark, and I look forward to seeing how impressive Ark 2 will be. This is the list of MMORPGs I know of that have been announced for 2023, and honestly, most of them look amazing. So if you're looking for a new MMORPG to play, hopefully you will have found something to look forward to after watching this video. Let me know in the comment section below which MMORPG you look forward to the most and why. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider helping the channel out by subscribing. See you in the next one, gamers!